Hello all, I'm Marin. Welcome to another reading vlog and welcome to another episode, the penultimate episode actually, of my 1 week, 1 genre challenge, where I use a random spinner wheel to determine the genre I'm going to be reading from over the course of the week. There are 2 remaining genres on my wheel, so you are looking at that right now. We're gonna spin it and see which one it is we're going to be reading from. My goal is to do vlog 7 this month and vlog 8 next month, so we will be finished with the challenge before I start back to work. So that's kind of the goal with this. I'm going to go ahead and pull the wheel up and we're just going to spin and see what genre we're reading from. As I've mentioned in previous vlogs, I have already created TBRs for these vlogs because I am trying to use books from my physical TBR and specifically books that I purchased in 2025 and didn't read. So that's what we're gonna do. So let's go ahead and get spinning. Okay, it's mystery thriller, which is great. That's kind of the vibe that I'm going for during the summer anyway, so that'll be fun. Let me go ahead and pull the books that I'm gonna read and we'll talk about them and then we will just get reading. Okay, first book is going to be Penitence by Kristen Koval. This one is a book of the month book that I picked up back in February of 2025 and obviously did not read. So this one is something to do with a murder. And it says it's a poignant exploration of love and forgiveness. It's a suspenseful, addictive page-turner filled with literary insight that compels readers to consider whether the worst thing we've ever done is all that defines us. So that's the first one. I will read full synopses for these like as I go through the vlog, but that is the first one. The next one is going to be 0 Days by Ruth Ware. I read One by One earlier this year and enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it was like the best book ever, but I did have a good time with it. This one says this is an adrenaline-fueled thriller about a woman in a race against time to clear her name and find her husband's murderer. So there you go, that's that one. And then the last one I actually purchased on Kindle over like a sale or something like that. So that is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I think this one's more fantasy mystery. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up on Goodreads so I can actually see what it says. This is the first in a series, which I don't love, but I did purchase it, so I do need to go ahead and read it. This one says, let's see. This features an unforgettable Holmes and Watson style pairing, a gloriously labyrinthine plot, and a haunting and wholly original fantasy world. So yeah, it's a fantasy mystery, which will be interesting because these two are very much more typical mystery thrillers. So that will be the third book for this vlog. I am looking forward to it. It has a pretty good rating, 4.29, so a lot of people have really enjoyed it. And I know, did the second one just come out? Yeah, the second one came out in April of last year. And then the third one just came out, or is coming out rather, August 4th this year. So we'll see if I like the first one and if I want to continue, but all of that will come later in this vlog. So that is going to be the TBR. So without further ado, let's get reading. Okay, y'all, I have actually finished Penitence and I did not really enjoy my time with this. So when it came time for me to give it a final rating, I thought about the things I didn't like, and then I thought about the things that I did like, and the things that I didn't like outweighed the things that I did like. So I'm ultimately giving this 2.5 stars. I have a few reasons for that. One, the book is mismarketed. It is not a mystery. This would be more of like a family drama in my opinion. There was nothing that happened in this book that I found shocking at all. And I also just felt like she was trying to tackle too many things in a single book. So this book covers a number of heavy topics. So we have things like grief, the death of a parent, Alzheimer's, alcoholism. And then on top of those, we are also trying to tackle the problem that is the criminal justice system in the United States, particularly the juvenile system, because our book kicks off with a 13-year-old girl, Nora, killing her 14-year-old brother, Nico. So Nora is taken into custody and put into a juvenile detention facility while she awaits her trial on Nico's murder. So that is how the book kicks off. Her parents then hire Martine, who is a local lawyer, to defend Nora. But Martine has no criminal defense history, and she knows she can't do a good job representing Nora by herself. So she brings in her son, Julian, who is a criminal defense attorney. Now, the problem is that Julian and Angie, who is Nora's mother, were high school sweethearts, and due to the death of Angie's sister, they slowly drifted apart until they finally separated. So we have that history going on. So what I think this book struggled with was pacing and trying to lay out all of these things the author was trying to do in a way that kept your attention, because the chapters were very, very long, and I felt like because she was trying to put so much into the book that the story of Nora, which I feel like should have been the focus, kind of didn't go where I think it could have gone if she was just focusing on like a single thing. But because she brought in all of these extraneous topics, the book just got bogged down, and I did not find it very enjoyable to read personally. One thing I think she was trying to do, and she was doing decently well, was commentary on the criminal justice system in the United States and how teenage mental health issues can play a factor in some teenage crimes, and how the justice system does not take those into account and also does not provide an atmosphere for people who are suffering from mental health issues to recover from them or learn to live with them. The other thing that she tried to cover in this book was the disproportionate incarceration of Black and brown people, in this case, particularly Black men. So Julian has a case that he was working on when he and Angie were still together, where he is trying to defend a young Black man who is 20 years old at the point of the book. But he is in New York, and New York had or has a 3-strike rule. And because this 3rd strike was on this man's record, he was basically going to spend the rest of his life in prison. So it's taking a look at like those hard-on-crime policies that a lot of people like to tout when they are running for positions of power, and how they affect certain people over other people. Let's just put it that way. So that is something that she clearly has a lot to say. I should mention the author is a former lawyer. So I felt like the law stuff is where this book actually really shined. Shone. I liked those scenes, and not just when Julian was talking about his defense of the young Black man, but also just the conversation surrounding Nora and Nora's upcoming trial and what could potentially happen to Nora once the DA decides to charge her as an adult and take her over to adult court. So that's a little bit of a spoiler, but not really, because that's where the book goes. So there are a lot of conversations that I really enjoyed about the justice system and how much work still needs to be done to make it equitable. But the rest of the book just bogged stuff down. We have so much happening here that I just felt like the story itself almost didn't know what it was trying to accomplish. And because of that, I just had a hard time with my whole reading experience of it. So 2.5 stars is where I'm going to put this. And my biggest takeaway and the biggest thing I will say to you is just know going in, if you decide to read it, this is not a mystery. Had I known that, I think I may have had a different reading experience. So I want to be very forthright about it not being a mystery, because I do think that that impacted my enjoyment of the book. So that's going to be it for this one. 2.5 stars. Not a great way to start the vlog off, but it is what it is. I have at least gotten this read. I will not be keeping this. I will be putting this in a little free library for someone else to hopefully enjoy, because I don't keep books that I didn't rate highly on my shelves. So this one is gonna go. But it's done, so hooray for that. I am now going to turn my attention to 0 Days by Ruth Ware. This will be the 3rd Ruth Ware book that I have read. I liked one of them, and I disliked another one. So we will see where 0 Days falls. This one, I'm just going to read you the synopsis, says, Jacintha Jack Cross and her husband Gabe are the best security penetration specialists in the business. Hired by companies to test the strengths and weaknesses of their systems, Jack handles the physical break-ins while Gabe tackles the digital aspects. They make an excellent team outside of work too. But after a routine assignment goes horribly wrong, Jack arrives home to find her husband dead. To add to her horror, the police are closing in on their only suspect, her. Suddenly on the run and quickly running out of options, Jack must decide who she can trust as she digs further into family, old friends, and even old enemies. As she circles closer to the truth, she also begins to question if there could be far more at stake in this unputdownable and heart-pounding mystery from an author whose propulsive prose keeps readers on the hook and refuses to let anyone off until all has been revealed. So that's the synopsis. I picked this up actually out of the bargain bin at my local grocery store, so I'm very curious to give this one a read. It doesn't have spectacular ratings, but I know Ruth Ware is a very hit or miss author for a lot of people. So as I've said, I've already had that experience myself with The It Girl and One by One. So we will see where 0 Days falls, and I will let you know. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get reading on this one, and I will give you an update once I have one. Okay, y'all, it's time for a reading update because I have finished 0 Days, and this is fine. It's a very average, run-of-the-mill thriller, in my opinion. There were aspects of this that I quite enjoyed. So our character, Jack, is somebody who is hired to test out companies' security systems. So the book kicks off with her trying to make her way through this building to check for flaws or holes in this company's security system. And I felt like that was exceptionally well written. She does the same thing later in the book, and again, I thought that that was really well written. I had a lot of fun with that. This book is very action-packed, so I did enjoy the action scenes. I just did not find myself connecting with Jack at all in this book, and I was not surprised at anything that happens, even though I don't think that I was actively thinking about who was responsible for her husband's death. I just kind of felt like everything made sense. Like it wasn't anything shocking to me. And for a thriller to really work, I have to be surprised. So I'm going to give this one 3 stars. It's fine. It's a very nice way to spend a few hours, but it's not anything to write home about. So I still think One by One by Ruth Ware is my favorite of the books that she's written. I did like this one more than The It Girl. They're both getting the same rating, but this one I just felt a lack of connection with, and again, a lack of surprise. I also personally did not ever feel like on the edge of my seat and filled with suspense, even though that is like what the book is trying to do with the non-stop action scenes. And Jack suffers a puncture wound injury like early in the book, and Of course, because she's on the run, she can't like go to the hospital to have it looked at or whatever. But it was almost like Ruth Ware really wanted the reader to know that not treating a puncture wound of unknown origin is a bad idea, because the amount of words that are wasted describing the wound and how Jack's feeling because of the wound was a lot and really did not need to be there. I felt like it didn't really add anything to the story. I think she did it in order to kind of ramp up the tension, but it just didn't really work for me. And I just felt like it was kind of a throwaway thing that didn't need to exist in the book personally. So that would be kind of something that I noticed. Ruth Ware really wants to make sure the reader knows that you need to get puncture wounds treated right away. Like, it almost felt like it was this over-the-top service announcement almost. So anyway, this was fine, 3 stars. Again, some of this was particularly well written, especially when we got to see Jack use her skills, but otherwise it was just very average, run-of-the-mill, and it's not something I'm going to be thinking about past this vlog. So a fine way to spend a few hours, but not anything that I would say you have to read. So this one is done. And that's kind of my lackluster review. Now, I am actually going to squeeze another book into this vlog. So I am going to squeeze in Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This is a book that is going to check off a Goodreads seasonal challenge, so I need to get it read anyway. It's also a Literally Dead Book Club backlist book, so I want to get all of those read this year. So I'm going to go ahead and read you the synopsis here, and then this will be the next book that we're going to talk about in the vlog. And I am still going to read The Tainted Cup as well, so that will be coming, but I'm going to go ahead and do this one first. This audiobook is not very long. I have it out from my library, so I need to get it read and listened to before it expires. You can probably hear my cat meowing at me. So yes, we're going to squeeze this one in. So this one says, 25 years ago, Maggie Holt and her parents, Ewan and Jess, moved into Bainbury Hall, a rambling Victorian estate in the Vermont woods. 3 weeks later, they fled in the dead of night, an ordeal Ewan later recounted in a non-fiction book titled House of Horrors. His horror memoir of ghostly happenings and encounters with malevolent spirits became a worldwide phenomenon, rivaling the Amityville Horror in popularity and skepticism. Today, Maggie is a restorer of old homes and too young to remember any of the events mentioned in her father's book. But she also doesn't believe a word of it. Ghosts, after all, don't exist. When Maggie inherits Bainbury Hall after her father's death, she returns to renovate the place to prepare it for sale. But her homecoming is anything but warm. People from the past, chronicled in House of Horrors, lurk in the shadows, and locals aren't thrilled that their small town has been made infamous thanks to Maggie's father. Even more unnerving is Bainbury Hall itself, a place filled with relics from another era that hint at a history of dark deeds. As Maggie experiences strange occurrences straight out of her father's book, she starts to believe that what he wrote was far more fact than fiction. So that's going to be the next book I'm going to read. I'm really looking forward to this one. I've heard really good things. I know that this is one that a lot of people have really liked. Riley Sager can be hit or miss for a lot of people. I have enjoyed more than I have disliked by him, so we'll see where this one falls, and I will give you a review probably once I finish it, because I'm expecting this to go pretty quick. Okay, I have finished Home Before Dark. This is, I would say, probably Riley Sager's most popular book, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like the majority of people who read this one enjoy it, so I did have pretty high expectations going in. I have liked the vast majority of books that I've read by Riley Sager. The only one that I didn't really like was The House Across the Lake, and I've even liked ones that other people didn't really like. So I definitely was expecting this to be a very good book, and it was. So we are following Maggie. Maggie's family moved into a so-called murder house where the father of the family who owned the house committed a murder-suicide, and as such, the house is obviously having trouble selling, so Maggie's parents get it at a deal, a steal even, and then upon moving in, weird things start happening. It ultimately culminates in the family fleeing the house. Her father writes a book about their experience living in the house, and Maggie is convinced that he's made the whole thing up. So there wasn't anything wrong with the house. He did it maybe for publicity or fame. She's not really sure, but she does not believe that anything weird was actually going on in the house. So she gets the house after her father passes away. She is told not to go to the house, and she does it anyway, because she wants to restore the house and sell it, because she flips houses for a living. So that's your setup. Upon getting to the house, Maggie also starts experiencing some weird things. This book is written with her current POV, so current day narration, and then interspersed are the chapters that her father has written in the book. And I particularly liked those chapters. I feel like that is where Riley Sager's writing really shone, if you will. I feel like those chapters were particularly engaging and creepy, as you would expect from a book written about a supposed haunted house. Riley Sager does this thing with his writing where he keeps you guessing. He keeps you guessing regarding what is actually going on. And in this case, you are guessing whether there is something truly paranormal or something human happening in this house. And I would say he does a fantastic job of keeping you feeling very uncertain throughout the entire course of the book, because I did not see the twists or the ending coming personally. So I feel like he did a really good job with that. One thing that he's very good at is obviously setting a scene, setting the tone, keeping you on the edge of your seat. He writes in a very engaging style, in my opinion, that keeps me interested in what's happening. The audiobook for this was very well narrated. I really had a good time listening to the audiobook. There were two narrators because we had her POV, Maggie's POV, so she had a narrator, but then we also had a narrator for the chapters from the book that her father had written. So I just felt like the audiobook was done really well. And again, I just had a very good time with this. Did not see the twist coming at the end, which is always like a win in my book. And I just felt like this was very atmospheric, very creepy, and I had a very good time with it. So if you have not read this one, I would recommend it. I would recommend it even if you maybe don't necessarily read Riley Sager, but maybe you read thrillers. This is a thriller with some horror elements mixed in, and I just thought it was phenomenal, honestly. So I wouldn't say that this is my favorite Riley Sager book. That is still the only one left. That one I think just tops this one a little bit, but this is definitely sliding into second place. I really had a good time with this. This was a book for a Goodreads seasonal challenge, so that is why I squeezed it into this vlog so I could get it done. So anyway, highly recommend. I'm giving it 4 stars. That is usually the rating that I give a lot of his books. So the only one left got 4 stars with A Vengeance, which was last year's release, got 4 stars. This one is getting 4 stars. And I also gave 4 stars to Survive the Night, which was an unpopular opinion because most people didn't like that one, but I thought it was a good time. So anyway, if you like Riley Sager but haven't read this one, give it a read because it was a good time. And I would recommend the audio if you want like the dual narration, particularly the audio for the chapters that were from the book that her father had written. Those were really well done. So anyway, yes, this one is done. I can cross this one off, and we are now going to move on to the final book for this vlog, which is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. Now, I picked this book up on like a Kindle deal. It was like $1.99, and I've heard really good things about it. I have since learned that this series is not got a set number of books that are going to be in it, and the author has said that it's not finished. So it seems to me like this might be a series that could go on a while, so we'll see what I end up thinking, but I have heard really good things about this. Let me go ahead and read the synopsis for you. Okay, so this one says, in Daratana's most opulent mansion, a high imperial officer lies dead, killed to all appearances when a tree spontaneously erupted from his body. Even in this canton at the borders of the empire, where contagions abound and the blood of the Leviathans works strange magical changes, it's a death at once terrifying and impossible. Called in to investigate this mystery is Anna de Labra, an investigator whose reputation for brilliance is matched only by her eccentricities. At her side is her new assistant, Dinius Cole. Din is an engraver, magically altered to possess a perfect memory. His job is to observe and report and act as his superior's eyes and ears. Quite literally in this case, as among Anna's quirks are her insistence on wearing a blindfold at all times and her refusal to step outside the walls of her home. Din is most perplexed by Anna's ravenous appetite for information and her mind's frenzied leaps, not to mention her cheerful disregard for propriety and the apparent joy she takes in scandalizing her young counterpart. Yet, as the case unfolds and Anna makes one startling deduction after the next, he finds it hard to deny that she is indeed the Empire's greatest detective. As the two close in on a mastermind and uncover a scheme that threatens the safety of the Empire itself, Din realizes he's barely begun to assemble the puzzle that is Anna de Labra, and wonders how long he'll be able to keep his own secret safe from her piercing intellect. Featuring an unforgettable Holmes and Watson style pairing, a gloriously labyrinthine plot, and a haunting and wholly original fantasy world, The Tainted Cup brilliantly reinvents the classic mystery tale. So there you go. That is going to be the final book for the vlog. So let me go ahead and get reading. Okay, all, it has been several days at the point of filming this, and I never closed out this vlog and talked about The Tainted Cup. So we're gonna do that now because I am still thinking about that book like several days later. In the meantime though, I had a birthday. We did some celebrating, some book shopping. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those clips right here in this vlog, do a little book haul, and then I'm gonna talk about The Tainted Cup. Okay, let's go ahead and just do a little book haul because I did go to Half Price Books. First of all, they gave me like this summer reading challenge thing, which is really cute. If you fill some of it out, you can bring this back and get 10% off like the first 16 days of August. So I may do that, may not, but let's go ahead and just talk about what I picked up. So first of all, I grabbed No Matter What by Cara Bastone. This was actually the most expensive book that I picked up, but I wanted to read this one since it was first announced, so I did grab this one. I also picked up Flawless by Elsie Silver. I know that the Chestnut Springs series, which this one is, gets a lot of love from her fans. I read Wild Love by her and enjoyed that, but I do want to give Chestnut Springs a go, so I did pick up the first book in that one. I also grabbed Paradise by Toni Morrison. I read Beloved 2 years ago, I think, either last year or the year before. Really enjoyed that. I want to read a lot more from her. This one was the one that was on the shelf, so I went ahead and grabbed it. I grabbed 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. I've heard good things about this author and good things about this book in general. Of course, at this point, June is almost done, so I'll probably save it till next year because I do think reading it in June makes the most sense, but I did grab it. This one was $9, so couldn't really pass that up. Then I found this collection of Edgar Allan Poe's writing. It's illustrated. It was only $10. It's a hardcover, and it has, as I said, illustrations. So I thought this one was really well done. I don't even think this was ever read. Like, I'm pretty sure it's never even been opened. I love Edgar Allan Poe though, so I saw this and had to grab it to add to my shelves. Next, I picked up Dandelion is Dead by Rosie Story. This is a newer release. I think it came out in January. I've wanted to read it since it was first announced. I've heard mixed things about it, but it still sounds like something I'm gonna enjoy, so I went ahead and grabbed this one as well. And then I also got This Story Might Save Your Life by Tiffany Crum. This one is a new release ish that's gotten quite a bit of attention, quite a bit of hype. People have really enjoyed this one. I believe it is either a horror or a mystery thriller. I can't quite remember, but I've heard good things, so I'm looking forward to giving that one a read. And then I found a copy of Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall for only $10. So had to pick that one up as well. They had a few different copies of this. This one was in the best condition. There's just a little bit of denting on the book jacket, but not a big deal at all. And for $10, I couldn't really pass it up. This is the book of the month version. And then the last book that I got was Into the Blue by Emma Brody. This one, again, it's been getting quite a lot of attention, and I'm very curious about it. It sounds really good, so we'll see what I think about it. But that was the final actual book that I picked up. And then I did grab a coloring book as well. I found this one right here, Shop Fronts. It's really cute, and it was only $6. So I like simple coloring books. I don't like the ones that are very intricate. I want easy to color pictures. So I'll go ahead and just kind of flip through, like Cookie Shop, The Shoe Room. Here's like a music store. So yeah, I picked that one up as well just because I couldn't pass that up. So that was my half price books haul. So there you go. My budget was $100 and I spent basically $100. So not too shabby. But anyway, all right, let's talk about the Tainted Cup because that's actually what I need to do to close out this video. This book was marketed as having like Sherlock Holmes vibes, and it definitely has that. So we are following Din and Anna. In this world, you have like a ranking of, I guess, police, for lack of a better term. And Anna is an investigator who has a lot of quirks, a la Sherlock Holmes. Mostly, she becomes overstimulated with sound, smells, you name it. So she walks around with like a blindfold on half the time. And she does not actually, or I should say she rarely leaves her house, and she still manages to like solve these crimes. So Din is basically her eyes and ears. He is the one that goes to the crime scenes. He is an engraver, and in this world, engravers can remember everything. So Din ties his memories to scents. So he'll have like a vial of something, let's say it's like rose. And when he's at a crime scene, he'll sniff the vial, and then whenever he sniffs that smell again, he can instantly recall everything that happened at the crime scene. He then takes his knowledge back to Anna, and they work together to solve crimes. So that's kind of the setup of this. Din gets very irritated with Anna because she is so off the wall and quirky, and he feels like she sometimes doesn't take things seriously. He like thinks her antics are a little over the top, but when they work together, it works really well. So it's very much like Sherlock Holmes and Watson. So if you like those vibes, I think you'll like these. This is set in a fantastical world. There was quite a lot going on. You can tell that there's kind of like an overarching mystery here. And I know that the author has released 2 other books in this series, but the series is not done. So this is probably going to be a longer series. I don't know if he's even said how many books he's thinking about writing, but I thought this was so fun. I'm giving it 4 stars. And I just truly liked the relationship between Anna and Din. I liked the world. I found it very interesting. And I liked the mystery elements. There is some horror type elements mixed in here. You have some body horror and things with like the way that this infection, I guess for lack of a better word, has spread. So you have a little bit of horror, so just know that going in. But basically, I just thought this was a lot of fun. I liked the fantastical setting. I liked the banter between Anna and Din. I liked getting to know them as characters. Din is a very interesting character as well. You learn a little bit of his backstory, which I really enjoyed. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about Anna and just watching their relationship blossom all the more. So I very much enjoyed this. If you like mysteries and you don't think you'll mind like a fantasy element, I would highly recommend this one. And even if you necessarily don't like fantasy, I still think this book would have a lot for you to enjoy, especially if you like Sherlock Holmes. So definite vibes from there. You can tell he took some inspiration from Sherlock Holmes when he was writing this. I just had a good time. Like, I basically was laughing several times throughout the story while listening to it, and I felt for Din because he gets so exasperated with Anna and like the nonsense that he has to deal with when he works with her. So it was just a good time. I would highly recommend it, honestly. If you think you would like it at all, give it a read. So that's my very quick overdue review for the Tainted Cup. So all in all, this wasn't too bad of a vlog, even though I didn't love 2 of the books. I liked the last 2 that I read in the vlog, so I cannot complain overly much. So let's go ahead and do a very quick recap. I'm going to try to like compile everything because it's been so long now that I have the books everywhere. So let's go ahead and grab them. All right, so Penitence was not a winner. I honestly wouldn't recommend it. I'm giving it 2 stars and I am unhauling this book. Did not have a good time with it. We had 0 Days by Ruth Ware, another one that I'm gonna unhaul. I just felt like this was very mediocre, run-of-the-mill, not anything to write home about. If it had focused more on, what is her name? Jack's profession, I think I would have liked it more, but as it was, it just was very mediocre in my opinion. So 3 stars for this one. Again, it's being unhauled. Didn't love it. Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, a winner. Very much enjoyed this one. 4 stars. I think the only one left is still my favorite of the books by him, but I really did enjoy this one, so glad I gave this one a read. And honestly, this one definitely was more mystery thriller, less horror. So just something to keep in mind. Again, 4 stars for this one. And then of course, 4 stars for The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. So again, like I said, the last 2 books of the vlog were winners. The other 2 books, not so much. You could avoid and not miss out on really much of anything in my opinion. So there you go. That's gonna do it for this vlog. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel if you would like to see more from me. I am going to be filming my final installment of One Week, One Genre in July, and obviously that is contemporary because it was the only one left on the wheel, so you can stay tuned for that one. But otherwise, I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone.